Welcome back to another video. Sat here in the BMW M4 GT3 in the Nurburgring Grand Prix circuit pit lane. Sat in the box. We're going to be doing a lap on the 24-hour Nurburgring layout, taking on the Nordschleife Green Hell. Going to be doing something slightly different today though, as you can probably tell from the heads-up display bottom left of the screen. You'll see that that is not an Assetto Corsa Competizione HUD. That is the Garmin Connect GameOn HUD. I am going to be experimenting to see just how stressful a lap around the Green Hell is in VR. Now, the Nordschleife is one of those tracks that is synonymous with danger, with exhilaration, and it's steeped in history when it comes to motor racing. It's a dangerous track that has been made infinitely safer with modern day's advances in safety. However, it is still a circuit that elicits fear. I put off learning the track for over a decade of sim racing. There are just so many sections where just fog of war, getting confused in the moment. Even to this day, I can forget where I am. There's one particular section, I'll call it out when we get there. However, I've always wondered just how much anxiety does a lap around here bring on. It also kind of takes us close to that question of whether or not sim racing is a sport, an e-sport, let alone any other types of gaming as an e-sport. Do they have any element of athleticism requirements? Do they present stress? Do they burn calories? Do they require any sort of fitness to be proficient? Well, I can't answer all of those questions. However, if you look at the HUD, what it's tracking is my heartbeat, normal. However, it's also tracking what my body stress levels are like. So based on my heart rate variability. Furthest left, bottom left of the HUD, I think it's blue, that's at rest, that's when I'm nice and chilled and relaxed. Far right, red or purple, that's when anxiety is setting in, like there's a fire. It's also tracking my body battery, so how much energy I have in reserves, how much I made up overnight sleeping, and how much I've expended thus far through the day, and again how much I'm going to burn through in this session. And then also it has my body readiness state. Am I ready to do this? Have I had enough rest over the past few days? Am I nourished? Am I just basically in a holistically good space to be able to exert myself in this session if there is any exertion required? So that's the stats. Let's see what happens when we run a lap. So now we're going to do the initial flying lap, which won't be that great. The tyres low pressure at the moment, still a bit cold, brakes are cold, but hopefully help reacclimatise to the car, to the circuit. More importantly, warm up the muscles so that when we come back around for the second lap, flying lap, you can really see if we can start pushing and get a more representative set of data. Okay, let's go. I'm not sure what pounds of pressure I've got in my load cell brake, but I can definitely tell when I'm really pushing down hard on it. And feel it all through my core. Ran wide a bit there. Oh, right rear went into the dirt. Bit just as I needed to turn in. This version of the track is so bumpy. Didn't have the confidence in the tyres through there. Understeered through there a lot. This left-hander is where I can lose concentration and forget where I am on track. Forget that there's a right-hander right behind it. Yeah, 2 stabs of the throttle there. Yeah, I get confused with here. I think that I'm coming through this left-hander. Always get conscious that I might catch the dirt through there. Rear's wanting to light up. Carousels where VR comes in really handy. Need to fight the urge to ride the brake through there. Let the car rotate instead. Carry too much speed. Okay, that's that one. You can see the pressures are still low on the right hand side. Brakes cooling down on the rear, fronts aren't really that hot either. Starting to overheat the rear tyres. Okay, look out for traffic coming off pit lane. Oh, really clipped the curb. The car rotated more than I was expecting. Using all the track. carry too much speed into that second carousel. Okay, the lap fraught with errors. But let's see what the stats look like when we finish. And there you have it, 2 laps around the Nordschleife in the BMW M4 GT3. I have to confess, I wasn't entirely sure what the statistics were going to show once I finished the laps and watched the replay back. However, having seen the periods of time where my heart rate was elevated, where my stress levels were pegged, and the areas of the track where I just seemed to calm down, allowing myself some respite, allowing the stress to wear off, really surprised me. Looking back at the context of my stress levels for the day, you can see that I started off this morning doing some workout for about half an hour. That was elevated levels of stress. Later on in the afternoon, I had a few more elevated elements of stress. I then spent a session, I think it was an hour or more, in the GT3, same car, M4 GT3, around Brands Hatch, doing some practice for the Low Fuel Motorsports GT3 Sprint. Again, elevated stress levels. You can see that my body battery throughout the day has been pretty static. There was no extreme movements on it, and my heart rate hasn't really stayed above 120 beats per minute for much of the day. However, when you look at the more condensed, focused session that we just did, there was a lot of stress. There was a maximum heart rate of 121 beats per minute at one point, and I think it fell down to as low as 78 maybe, or was it 80 something at some point. The average heart rate throughout that session was about 93, 94 beats per minute. And as I said, it was interesting to see that my heart rate would be elevated thinking about going into turn 1, turn 2 of the GP circuit, not wanting to mess it up, and then getting a few moments of respite that allowed the stress levels to fall off, which made it look like I was less concerned about the Nordschleife, that I was looking forward to it, when in hindsight what I think it actually showed was that I'd had a period of rest for my stress levels, for my heart on the GP circuit, and there's that lag. So then as soon as I turn onto the Nordschleife, the heart rate starts to go up, the exertion level starts to go up, and then the stress starts to build again. That said, there were still sections of the Nordschleife where I thought I would be more stressed, I'd be more anxious about it, and looking at my heart rate, I was much more composed than the exertion I was putting in would have made me think. I'm thinking back to a few years back when I did some racing and I wore a heart monitor. And back then my heart rate could get up to 150 beats per minute. There were periods when we were doing endurance races where I hit like the upper thresholds of my heart rate of 186 beats per minute. Nowadays, I've spent a lot of time cycling over the last 6 months. I've done a long endurance run of 100k or more. I've done 80k in the last couple of days. I think in the last 7 days, I've done 185k. So my VO2 max now is actually quite good. I think the score's 43. It reckons that's peak. I doubt it. However, perhaps back when I originally was wearing the heart monitor, I wasn't keeping myself as fit. Perhaps I didn't have the cardio capacity. Again, it might also be I only did the 2 laps. I wasn't racing, so there wasn't the added intense pressure, the stress of not wanting to make a mistake, not wanting to lose out to a competitor, not wanting to cause an issue or a problem for another car on track either. So perhaps the stress levels were just lower because I was just hot lapping. And I wasn't even really hot lapping, I was doing an experiment. I wanted to see what the statistics were going to show. But what they did show is that whilst my normal resting heart rate is about 78 beats per minute, my sleeping heart rate is about 55 beats per minute. When I'm cycling, especially when I'm going through a period of high exertion in the cycling sessions that I do, so climbs or long endurance runs, I can hit, as I said, about 186 beats per minute when I'm getting into that anaerobic or that neuromuscular phase of cycling. Other than that, my Zone 2 is about 95 to 115, 120 beats per minute, with my Zone 3 tempo being around 125 to 148, 158 beats per minute, with 158 beats per minute being that point where I go into my threshold for my functional threshold power. So considering that I'm driving with a 9 Newton meter direct drive wheel, I'm tensing my core up quite frequently through the lap. You can hear the exertion when I'm unable to talk and breathe at the same time. I'm unable to steer because I'm really focused on making sure I hold my line, I hold the force feedback as it kicks. I'm surprised that my heart rate did not get above 121 beats per minute. I genuinely am. I thought it was going to be 140, 150. So perhaps I'm fitter than I thought I was. However, you let me know, comment. Did you find this video interesting? Did you find it enjoyable? Would you like me to do more? Would you like me to see what the difference would be if I did the same car, same track, but a wet track, heavy rain, or perhaps a night session? Or let's go out there, perhaps a night session with heavy rain. As always, thank you for the support. If you wouldn't mind liking, sharing, subscribing, and above all, comment. So thank you once again for all of the support, and I'll see you in the next one.